A diagnosis of breast cancer is never an easy journey. But for women like Michelle Carter, a lack of health insurance can make that journey even more difficult.
When I found this through self-breast examination on myself, I was scared. I mean, beyond. I just, when you hear about or seeing something of this nature, you automatically think you have a death sentence. You don't.
There are lots of women in the community that do not have insurance, and some that have insurance, but it only pays every other year, or maybe it doesn't cover a mammography.
What we have seen, though, is that women or families in what we call the working poor category, that they are doing all the things that they can do, all the right things, they're employed, but they just aren't earning enough money that they can afford an insurance plan.
Yes, I'm a single mother, and the reason most people ask, why don't you have health insurance to begin with, is you have to decide what's, a roof over your head and putting a child through college or health insurance. And with the healthcare.gov selection, it was very, very expensive. And I just, I couldn't afford both. I had to make a hard choice. So my choice was to not select it and just try to keep a roof over my head and food on the table and work every day.
She was able to get into St. Mary's for primary health care. Her breast cancer did not present in what you typically would think of breast cancer in the media, that she didn't find a lump per se. So she had skin changes over part of her breast. Essentially, she was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. And that's a breast cancer that is very aggressive, that doesn't present in a lump. In fact, your mammogram may come out negative. So a very aggressive, locally advanced form of breast cancer.
She was late stage when she was diagnosed. She had to have neoadjuvant chemotherapy, and that means she had chemotherapy prior to surgery. Because of its size generally is why we would do that in later stage. And she's had a very, very good outcome, and as far as I'm aware, still as of today, she has no evidence of disease.
With that fund, I just felt so at peace when I finally was able to be scheduled. I got in right away. They did the thorough testing on me, and they gave me my results. Now, of course, it's not the results I wanted to hear. I wanted to make sure it was free and clear, but sometimes we just don't always get that kind of news.
The majority of anything that has to do with Mammography Fund is gratefulness. Just their gratitude for there being a resource, that they weren't just left to flounder on their own.
It's always like you hear it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to help a cancer patient. From not only the MDs, the surgeons, the oncology team, it's the people behind the scenes, your PAs, your lab people. It takes a lot.
I think it's a tragedy, a complete tragedy, every time we lose a woman from a breast cancer diagnosis. Certainly the mammogram is not going to prevent you from getting breast cancer. I mean, that's what we're looking for essentially, but we're doing that so that it can be curable. So when we have women dying from breast cancer, it begs the question, how could we have prevented this? And the only way that we can say that we could have prevented it at this point would be early detection. And we can't detect it if you don't get a mammogram.
If it wasn't for the Mary Telfair Mammography Fund, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't be alive. I will be ever so grateful.
She has amazed me throughout her entire journey. I cannot imagine what she was feeling at that time or how she dealt with it. But what I saw was just complete gratitude for, thank goodness I know now, and we're moving forward with something that is potentially curable.
I fought a very dangerous, very unique type of cancer. And it wasn't gonna win. Just wasn't gonna win. I fought. And so far I've won.
With a story of courage and resilience, Michelle Carter remains a fighter, a winner, and above all else, a forever grateful recipient of the Mary Telfair Mammography Fund.